Ounce of what transpired over the weekend, but there's a reaction to it because tonight there's a message. You are reaping what you have sown. The harsh criticism from the National Democratic Congress in the Volta region, as the opposition party says it has detected lies and misrepresentation of facts in Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's speech over the weekend at the Hogbechocho Festival. Footages flooded social media over the weekend, showing a group of attendants at the festival organized by the people of the Anglot traditional area hooting at the vice president when he decided to tout President Akufo-Addo and the NPP government's achievement after staying in office for close to 6 years. So we're asking that question, exactly what did the vice president say? For those of you who missed it, here's what he said.
Implement a free SHS, providing free tuition, free uniforms, free textbooks, and feeding to students. Over 1.2 million children are benefiting from free SHS. And when you look at all these interventions to mitigate the sufferings of Ghanaians, over the last 5 years, we have spent a total of 62.3 billion Ghana cedis. 2.3 billion Ghana cedis. This is the equivalent of some $8.5 billion. And these expenditures have proven to be critical shock absorbers in this crisis period of rising prices for food and for goods globally. Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine what many households would be going through today if, in addition to all the rising prices that we are seeing, just imagine how they would have been if they had to pay their children's school fees, if they had to buy textbooks, if they had to buy uniforms, if they had to pay.
And then the vice president went on and on to tout some of the achievements of the New Patriotic Party, not just in the Volta region, but across the country. So there's been a lot of reactions to that on the mainstream and social media as well. But we've been seeking to find out what actually transpired. And we're clearly, getting closer to getting a sense of what happened. A member of the Hogbechocho Planning Committee, Butadra Kumasa, has been speaking to us on the probe last night, indicating that at least the vice president had a sense that this was going to happen, except that they ignored all of the signs.
When he mentioned, he said, let me now talk about the economics. That is when the trouble started. He mentioned, among others, that they build more airports than any other government. They build more roads than any other government. And the people who were there did not see the roads, they did not see the airports, they did not see the universities you were referring to. So that brought some agitation, and it became very difficult to control the people because they were aware that what you were saying, none of them happened in the area. But when he started to talk of digitalization, we knew those areas were true. You cannot open your bank accounts using your mobile phone. But those came late. If we have to start with those ones, things which we are all aware that they really happened, then the people will accommodate. But he started with things which were strange to the people who were there. I did not brought the booing by the youth.
And the speech by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is beginning to draw a lot of backlash, especially from parties opposed to the NPP. The main opposition, National Democratic Congress, in the Volta region says it has spotted lies and bare misrepresentation of the facts in the statements of the Vice President. So exactly what is the concern of the NDC in the Volta region. Let's speak to James Gunu, his Volta Regional Secretary of the NDC, joins us on the telephone lines now. Good evening to you, Mr. Gunu. Thanks for joining us here on Top Story.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I'm sure that by now you have taken time to listen to the Vice President. Where's the lie or misrepresentation of facts in his statement?
Yeah, let me say good evening to your audience. In actual fact, you recall that in 2016, the Vice President made a similar statement and mentioned that Ghanaians were suffering, nurses were suffering, teachers were suffering, etc., etc. And there was a lot of cheers at the time when he was saying all those things. And then they promised that they were going to make life better for Ghanaians. So the people are still watching to see whether their life has become better off or worse off, and they are judging the Vice President by his own words and what he has done as a Vice President.
Yes, but Mr. Gunu, clearly, I'm just asking about where the lies and the misrepresentations are.
Yeah, Agbotadua has just said exactly what the feelings of the people are. If you say that you have built roads more than any other government, and the people have not seen the roads that you claim you have built or you have constructed. If you say that you have built airports more than any other government, the people will send their minds back at least to 1992, probably from the beginning of the Fourth Republic up to now, or from independence, and they will do the comparison to see whether it is true that this MPP government, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, have built more roads or airports than any other government. So if you continue to say things that the people are not seeing, they are not feeling, definitely they will see you as a liar. They will see you as somebody who is just there to make propaganda and waste their time. You take advantage of a traditional platform to say things that are false, and they will not allow you, like you did in 2015 when you were saying that Ghanaians were suffering, nurses were suffering, and they were carrying you up. Today, when you, the Vice President said all these things, the people were saying that away, and
in fact, sorry for cutting through, but some are even drawing the conspiracy theory to go ahead and say, in fact, the NDC in the Volta region sponsored what transpired over the weekend. It became much more of a grounds for the two main political parties battling it out, because while some were booing the Vice President, we saw some supporters of the NPP as well cheering him on. So it was more or less a political activity that many of you were engaged in as the NPP and the NDC.
The platform was not a political platform, and in actual fact, we were in Anglo a day before with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and you see clearly the reception that was given to President Mahama, because the people have seen his achievements in the area. I just came from a community called Ndovu Kopo, where the member of parliament for the area, Honorable Peter Nochukoti, went to commission or inaugurate a 3-unit classroom block constructed by an NGO in partnership with the MP. And the assembly started a project, just a 3-unit classroom block since 2017. And you'll be surprised that since 2017 up to now, the building is still at the roofing stage and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened to that building. Now, in 2020, when the MPP came out with a budget and mentioned some strategic rules or said some emergency rules, when even voter region, no road was selected and it became an issue, and later they mentioned Ho to Toko road. The road is still lying there. There is no activity going on. And the dual carriage route that the NDC government started, that is from Ho to Sokode, that road is still under construction. They have not completed it. And if you took advantage of such a huge platform and you lie, definitely you don't need any political party to sponsor anybody, but the people themselves, the people of Anglo themselves are seeing the difference between the NDC government under President Mahama and this MPP government and what they have said.
And this is where many also say
the signpost, the signpost that they put at Keta Beach is still lying there, and they claim they have built a harbor for Keta. So if people see a signpost and you say you have built a harbor, definitely they know the difference between a signpost and a harbor, because some of them might have visited Tema Harbor, Takrady Harbor, and have seen the expansion work that the NDC government did under President Mahama. So if you put a signpost there and you said that you have built a harbor, do you want the people to stand there and cheer you up that you have put a signpost and you have appointed a director of port and you are paying him monthly with the taxpayers' money? You want the people to cheer you up? No.
Mr. Gunu, what would you say to someone who says you gave a political undertone to a festival that was supposed to unite the country? In fact, if you look at the attendance, the caliber of traditional rulers who were present. Just hold on for me. I'll allow you to respond to my question. But of course, if you look at the caliber of traditional leadership that was present at this very festival, we shouldn't have turned this into a partisan comparison of track record, and that's where many blame your former leader or former presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama, who visited a day earlier before the vice president. He clearly stated to the Anglo women who had come to welcome him that your party was going to return in 2024 and to turn around the fortunes of people living within the Anglo constituency or area. The belief is that's what's triggering the reaction from the vice president. So we could have avoided the situation, you agree?
So if the vice president is somebody who is, interested in development and will not like to lie to the people, because what President Mahama said was the truth. So, and that one was a different platform. President Mahama, as you rightly put it, did not address or make those statements in front of the Awa Mafia. After meeting with the Awa Mafia and paying homage to the respected chief of Anglo State, he went and met his party people. If Vice President Bawumia had gone to meet his party people to make those claims, it wouldn't have become an issue. You understand? But mounting such a platform and lying to the people, definitely they will not sit down for you to take them or to throw dust into their eyes.
Right, Mr. Gunu, just hold on for me. You are, choosing your words, saying that that's a lie from the Vice President. So let's hear from the Vice President's office. Fortunately, we've been joined on the telephone lines now by Dr. Gideon Boaku, spokesperson for the Vice President. Dr. Boaku, I'm grateful that you're joining us at such a time when the opposition party is beginning to take on your boss, claiming that, his speech over the weekend was full of misrepresentations and lies.
Yeah, first and foremost, let me ask, who am I on the line with?
This is Blessed.
Who is he?
Blessed Sogan join you.
No, I mean the gentleman who's...
okay, so James Gunu is the regional secretary for the National Democratic Congress in the Volta region.
And then he says the Vice President gives information that is a misrepresentation.
Well, Mr. Boaku, I'm not entirely sure that it's just coming from the NDC. You've seen on social media what some Ghanaians have also been saying about the statement from the Vice President.
Listen to me. I'm on the line with somebody who has been speaking before I joined the line, and you are telling me that he says the Vice President gave information that is not accurate. I just want clarity on that. Is that what he's saying?
Precisely.
Would you do us a favor to ask him to provide what he thinks is the accurate information?
But Doc, you've heard, and if you've not heard that, he's right here. So I'm sure that you get a lot more of the clarity when you want it. He talks about...
That's also a responsibility of you as a
precisely. He stated that, except that you're now joining the conversation. So I'll try and perhaps summarize some of the issues they're raising in the region. They talk about, for instance, the Keta Port, which is a key infrastructure project for those on that corridor in the southern parts of the Volta region. They claim that all of these projects, for instance, are non-existent, and yet the Vice President is claiming, credits for infrastructural development. These are some of the concerns of the NDC in the region.
So I think first and foremost, Joy FM or journalists at large owe it a duty that when people like Vice President speaks, you don't just give opportunity for people who do not have any relevant information to just come and lambast.
That's your opinion.
The Vice President spoke about projects that this government has done across the country. The projects he talked about are not Volta region specific projects. And so if you want somebody to say he didn't say the truth or he said otherwise, you should get the person to be armed with the information. For instance, the Vice President made a categorical statement that this government has constructed more interchanges than any other government since 1992. Is he saying that is false or it's true? If he says false, push him to provide the accurate information.
Dr. Boaku, we're not here to take lessons on what should be done in terms of journalism. We're asking that direct question. You've seen also on social media what Ghanaians have been saying, and that's why I'm putting all of these concerns before you. I guess you do us some good by providing what the facts are. That's what we want from you, Dr. Boaku.
If the Vice President
James Gunu, just hold on.
How many airports have they built?
So James Gunu, just hold on. Let's hear from Dr. Boaku. Yes, I've given you the opportunity. Let's hear from Dr. Gideon Boaku.
How
Well,
many
I'm
airports
providing you
have they
the
built?
information,
James,
but I
James
want to
Gunn,
put it
just hold on for me.
that it is not accurate for you to say you're not here to take lessons from anybody. But first and foremost, if we take the data from, for instance, 2009 to 2016, okay, in terms of interchanges, you see that the interchanges that were constructed during the period were the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, the Ring Road Flyer, the Kasua Interchange, the Guildford Road, the Airport Hills. That has some flyovers. You can put all together as interchanges. From 2017 to 2022, you have the Pokuasi Interchange completed by this government, the Tamamoto Way Interchange, the Obechebe Lamte Phase 1 completed, the Tamale Interchange completed, the East Legon Bypass, the Suhum Interchange, the Nungwa Interchange, the Adregano 1, the PTC Interchange, the Flower Port, and then the Pong, and then the Obechebe Lamte Interchange Phase 2. With all of this, if the Vice President says that this government has put across more interchanges than any other government since 1992, is that not a fact? Number two, if we take something like roads and look at a summary of completed roads by activity from January 2017 to August 2022, and you compare with what existed from 2009 to 2016, you will see that asphalt overlays alone, this government has done 1,777, bridges 16, graveling and regraveling 6,099, partial reconstruction 180, reconstruction 186, rehabilitation 1,133, resealing 140, sport improvement 260, upgrading 1,363. That comes to 11,665. Okay, this is what has been done within this period. If you compare that with what existed prior to that, from 2009 to 2016, and if you look at, for instance, the Ghana Highway Authority from 2009 to 2016 did 581 kilometers of road. From 2017 to 2022, they did 1,290.85. Department of Federal Roads, 2009 to 2016, they did 1,613. 2017 to date, they have done 7,029. Department of Urban Roads, 2009 to 2016, they did 2,442. 2017 to date, they have done 3,366. Altogether, from 2009 to 2016, the length of kilometers of road that was constructed by the erstwhile government is 4,636. Today, from 2017 to now, it's 11,687. Where in this data put up by the Vice President suggests that he put up something that is not true? Okay? As for opinion, people can have. But before a student begins to challenge a professor, that student must come with some minimum knowledge on the subject. Other than that, anybody at all can sit anywhere and throw words at any leader to say you are lying. Meanwhile, the person cannot prove anything. That is what I'm trying to say. Now, we shouldn't just give airtime to people to come and lambast leaders and say anything when they have no shred of idea about even what we are being discussed.
Dr. Boako, your boss was specific. He says more than any other government. That was his comparison. And you agree that 11,000 kilometers of road network does not supersede what successive governments have done. You agree?
You see the poverty in the question that you're asking. When he says any other government, he hasn't said all governments put together. Any other government is different from all other governments put together. So if you want to disaggregate that and pin it down to government by government, you provide the figure and let's see if there's any that is larger than this. Any other government is not the same as all other governments. You are construing what he said to mean all other governments as a journalist. Meanwhile, what you're saying is wrong. Okay? We should be able to take our time, reflect on what people say, understand it better. And when we want to come and challenge, we shouldn't just put out any words like that. That is the poverty of the question you asked.
I'll compare you, for instance, to the NDC regime one under Jerry Rawlings. You agree that that regime is being credited for the, opening up of infrastructure here in our country. And you agree that if you are comparing 11,000 kilometers of road, that will not be comparable, for instance, to that regime.
So what is the reference figure here?
But then you agree that this is the longest seven. This is the longest seven.
Let's talk about figures. What is the reference?
This is the longest seven regime in our political history over 19 years in government. You can't, for instance, compare your track record to that in terms of road connections. 11,000 kilometers is what you're dealing with.
My friend,
apart from that, he has talked about roads. Because of time,
James Gunu, just hold on. James Gunu, just give me one more. Yeah, I'll give you the time. Just one more minute for me.
Than any other government.
We'll get into all of that. One more moment for Dr. Bwako.
So when you are speaking like this, I want to challenge figures that have been put out in terms of comparison. Let's have a reference point. Other than that, we cannot get anywhere. You understand? Other than that, we cannot get anywhere. That is the point I'm making to you. Don't just get up and say no just for saying sake. Anybody at all can do it. Even a class 1 child can say you are lying. What you are saying is not true. What is the basis of saying that? That has been the center of political discourse in this country. And it is so shocking that we get up and just say, no, you are lying, it is not true, and we cannot compare to anything. The acid test to any political decision is what is the alternative. If you say no, it is not correct, what are you comparing to?
Dr. Bwako, we're grateful. But even as you leave us, on the issue of the airports that is also coming up, do you have any comments on that?
Which one?
Well, your boss was also talking about the airports. Claiming that you've also constructed more airports than any other government.
How many airports do you have in this country? Okay, this government, as far as I know, has completed the Kumasi Airport Phase 2. This government has completed a Tamale new terminal airport. The one airport is in session. The Shinyani Airport is now open for people to use. Mention one government that during the was able to open 4 airports in this country. Mention one. Just tell me. And tell me the vice president was lying. You make politics so cheap in this country.
Grateful, because we're grateful for your time, Dr. Gideon Bwako. He speaks for the Vice President. This has been Top Story. I'm blessed to log on to myjoyonline.com for updates. Next is Newsnight.